Hello, fellow time travelers. Tony Witt here. What you're about to see is most of the video for our special Facebook Live episode of the Sensorites, which we broadcast on April 5th, 2017. Unfortunately, the video was done on a cell phone, and it was so glitchy that it kept dropping out. So you'll see technical difficulty signs keep coming up, followed by our going back to our regular captioning because we just didn't have enough video to actually splice together for you to see everything. If you want to see the full unedited video, you can go to Facebook and see it there, but it gets kind of crazy fairly quickly. You'll also hear me make reference to the next day being April 6th, 1970. Obviously, it was not April 5th, 1970. It was April 5th, 2017. That reference will make a lot more sense in context as you watch the episode. There are also certain bells and whistles that you've gotten used to that you won't be seeing, such as the fast facts and all of that, but you'll be getting the rest. So with any luck, this is as close to the usual experience that you'll be getting from this podcast as you would normally get, but with video. So you get to see us for a little while. Anyway, enjoy. Can you open one of those for me, please? Okay. That would be marvelous. It doesn't matter. I will drink anything that's alcoholic. All right. To whoever is watching, greetings. We have not started the actual recording of the podcast yet. We've got our preliminary things we have to do, so thank you for being patient. We will be starting in just a second as soon as we get our fruity beverages.
The most important part of the podcast
it
process
really is. It kind of is.
The beverage.
Yeah, exactly. But we will be doing so in just a second. Thank you for joining us. By the way, those of you who are watching this video from the beginning, one, I apologize. Two, you're not going to be hearing certain things like our theme music, our outro, our intro, our innies or outies. You're not going to be hearing the Fast Facts music. And in fact, sadly, you're not even going to be hearing the Fast Facts speed up because I have something to confess. I don't actually do that live. That is not one of my skills, so I cannot do that. But you will hear it if you listen to the actual published podcast, which you're not doing at the moment. So welcome to live TV. Thank you. The one person who's watching right now. We're glad you're here. Thank you. All right, are you guys ready?
One is better than none. Yep.
Oh, thank God. Okay. Hello, fellow time travelers, and welcome back to the Doctor Who Target Book Club, the podcast in which we undertake the tremendous task of discussing in story order all of the Doctor Who novelizations. My name is Tony Witt, and today we have again our three-person discussion panel, including our so-called expert who's been a Who fan since 1979. That would be me. There's also our intermediate level casual fan who's seen several episodes but has not previously read any of the books until these podcasts. And this time it's none other than Dalton Hughes. Hello, Dalton.
Hi, guys.
Who's been waving like a maniac for all this time.
I mean, that's what video is for.
That's what video is for. And finally, we welcome back the novice fan who's seen little to none of the original series still, and has previously read only a few of the books up until this podcast, the always lovely Sheena Annapera. Sheena, we are around her dinner table right now, and those of you watching us on Facebook can see us all as we check our phones and drink fruity beverages and so on.
No, don't do that.
Don't do that. Listeners, Sheena, Dalton, tomorrow is April 6th, 1970, and I will be celebrating my 47th birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy early birthday.
This upsets me for two reasons. One, I will no longer be 46. even though 46 was kind of a drag, apart from starting this podcast, which I think I would say has been a good thing. So thank you for that. 2, I'm spending my last night at 46 discussing Doctor Who, the Sensorites. The Sensorites, the penultimate story of Doctor Who Season 1. The Sensorites, the one oozing sore on the ass of the first season of Doctor Who. The Sensorites, the prolapsed anus, if you will, of the Hartnell era. Now, that's not quite true, because there are other stories that are pretty bad. Can you tell I don't like the Sensorites?
I can see why.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Sensorites. Oh, well, at least it's not the Space Museum. Oh, God. Trust me, we'll get there. I'll make sure you two are on the podcast when we get to the Space Museum, because you have no idea. All right, without further ado, here are some fast facts. Doctor Who, The Sensorites, adapted by Nigel Robinson from the script by Peter R. Newman that aired from 6/20/64 to 8/1/64, published by Target Books in 1987. As of this recording in April of 2017, this title is currently out of print, but is available as an unabridged audiobook from BBC Audio, 143 pages. You'll notice I didn't say mercifully out of print. I could have, except the book is to some degree better than the televised version. A few things to talk about first. The DVD of this story has a lovely little documentary about Peter R. Newman, the original author of the story, whom very little was known about, to the point that people thought he was some sort of mythical creature like Santa Claus or Jesus Christ. Oh, that's awful. No. We all know that Santa Claus isn't mythical. It really is worth watching this documentary, because far more so than the televised version of the story that's on the DVD, it's actually better to watch the documentary, because you find out some interesting things about him. Nothing was really known about him until that documentary was produced, except that he'd done a movie for Hammer Films, which was better known for, Dracula, Frankenstein, all those movies in the 50s, called Yesterday's Enemy, which was about British war atrocities in World War II. It was not a popular subject, and it got him a load of acclaim. So much acclaim, in fact, that he priced himself out of the market for Hammer scripts. And they said, oh, you want too much for this, we're not going to give you that much money. So he went on to write Doctor Who. It was also believed he died twice, because there were 2 dates of death for him, 1969, 1975. Wow. It turned out it was 75. He fell down a flight of stairs and suffered a hemorrhage by hitting his head on a radiator. After working as a porter at Tate Gallery, because he got a big problem... See, I'll edit that out when I publish. He had a huge problem with writer's block after doing this Doctor Who episode. And I know, right? Two stories.
After all things.
Yes, 2 stories.
After the Sensorites.
2 scripts. Well, 1 play and 2 scripts, all basically about the same themes. And then he hit writer's block. Became a porter at the Tate Gallery. Tried to continue writing. It didn't work. Fell down the stairs in 75. Hit his head. Very sad. Needless to say, it's a sort of story that almost makes me feel bad about all the ripping I'm about to do on the original story. Almost. Nigel Robinson, we've talked about. Sheena, you were not along for the Edge of Destruction podcast, but Nigel Robinson was very kind to me once in the past when I mailed him a letter asking if I could adapt some Doctor Who scripts when I was 15, and he said, no, but thank you for your interest. But it was very nice. We haven't talked about he himself and how he got the job. Our main Bible for this podcast is The Target Book by David Howe. And that tells us that Robinson's first book was published not long after he left university in 1981. And he took over the editorship of The Range from 1984 until 1987. This one was published in July of that year. So what happened was, he was kind of afraid that his bosses would turn him down if he said, I want to write one of the books. And then when he went to his bosses, he was deciding to leave and said, can I hire myself for this? His boss said, I'm surprised you didn't ask long before. So this is the first of 4 that he did. Edge of Destruction was actually the 4th and last one he did. So he'd polish things by then. We'll be getting 2 more from him before we're done. He also went on to write Doctor Who novels in the 90s, including one I just can't stand. I'm sorry, Nigel. I hate Time Worm Apocalypse. I think that's the one. I think. Yeah, it's not Revelations. That's Paul Cornell, and I love that one. Yeah. He wrote novelizations of The Tomorrow People, the 90s one from Australia, not the good one. And not that abomination that was on WB or CW or whatever the hell it's called these days, just a little while ago. He also wrote novelizations of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. He wrote novelizations of Baywatch. Bear in mind that we live in a world where there are novelizations of Baywatch.
Didn't know that existed.
I didn't either. I can just imagine his stock description of Pamela Sue Anderson. Yeah, it's like, he looked across the beach and saw a pair of boobs coming towards him. Then he realized they were connected to a woman. I could just see that. He also novelized the movie Free Willy. So there are plenty of jokes to be had about that. As much as we can tell from Edge in this book, his approach was always to try to add as much as he could to the televised story, except when he couldn't, even with the additional page counts that the writers had by the late 80s, which is why this book, which I'll pass around, is so long. It's fairly long compared to the others.
Yeah, 150.
Yeah, so it's there.
That's funny, that says Earth on the side of this ship.
Yes, it does. They painted it. Earth. We come from Earth. It's like, okay, fine. Also, that scene that I talked about a few weeks ago in which all the characters are recalling all their previous adventures.
Yeah.
It's from this story. I don't know why I thought it was from the story that I said that it was in. But so listeners, I apologize. Though,
you read everything real fast, probably. That's
I think that's it.
Within a short period of time.
Yeah, and I watched the stories too, so that's the problem.
It'll all get mixed in.
But none of our readers actually wrote in to tell me any different. So, all right. The blurb on the back. The TARDIS materializes on board a dark and silent spaceship. As the Doctor, Susan, Ian, and Barbara penetrate the craft's eerie gloom, they come across what appear to be the bodies of 2 dead astronauts, but the astronauts are far from dead, thanks for ruining it, and are living in mortal fear of the Sensorites, a race of telepathic creatures from the Sense Sphere. Try saying that 5 times. Sense-sphere. When the lock of the TARDIS is stolen, the Doctor is forced into an uneasy alliance with the aliens, and when he arrives on the Sensorites planet, he discovers that it is not only the humans who have cause to be afraid. Oh no.
Bum, bum,
Bum,
bum.
Bum, bum, bum.
That's probably the most exciting thing.
Yes.
Camera shake.
Exactly.
Backsplash.
Well, first impressions. Sheena, what were your first impressions of this glistening jewel of a story?
It's...
I'm sorry.
It's just a story, I guess. I don't know. It wasn't anything that was too spectacular or
And I'm so
or
sorry. You're
that
looking
like
forward
exciting or anything. I mean, it was a story. It played more like a like how a TV show would just be, though. You know what I mean? Like, I could see how it'd make a good TV show, but it wasn't a good book. That's what I would say.
I could see that.
You know what I mean? Like, the Sensorites were probably the most exciting thing of the whole thing.
Oh,
there were some okay parts. You know what I mean? Like, there were some okay parts, but it was just kind of meh.
Oh, okay. And you're so looking forward to this because it was the science fiction.
Yeah.
I am
Which is
so
so
sorry.
not science fiction-y.
No, it really isn't.
It's a verb.
That's the weird thing about. Well, let me ask you about that. Why did you feel that it wasn't particularly science fiction?
Because there was no real. The Sensorites are like a race of people who are like telepathic, but they have no real like machinery or like engineering capabilities. So that's probably why.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they're just a race of people that. It was just. The story was predictable, so that's probably why I didn't find it that interesting.
It was confusing in that
they
have those little tennis racket things that can fucking cut. Excuse me.
Yeah,
They cut the lock off of
a
the
door.
TARDIS.
Yeah.
Right.
They also have those ray guns that they give to the Doctor and Ian
Yes.
later
Yeah.
in the story.
Yeah.
And a disintegrator ray.
But they have no way of being able to tell that their water
Or why?
is poison.
They said they had
or
no.
how it's
yeah,
poison.
they had no chemistry.
Yeah, they had no sense of how chemistry worked.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you not know how chemistry works?
Well, I mean, I just feel like most things
don't
in
have
science
spaceships.
depend on each other.
You know?
Yeah.
So, like, how do you have ray guns and fancy tennis racket things without working
Yeah.
knowledge of
Or
chemistry?
crystal water.
Or crystal water.
Or that.
Or crystal light, or whatever it is
yeah.
they call the damn
light.
stuff. Crystal,
Yeah.
Let's give you some crystal lights.
I mean, they were kind of like a civilization of people that, they were kind of like the Mayans, as they had like aqueducts and stuff, but then they had slight sophistication, but then they ruled by a weird caste system. So it was all muddled in with each other,
Yeah.
which was odd.
Except we think the Sensorites probably have the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, unlike, or was it the Mayans or the Aztecs? It was the Aztecs, wasn't it? That didn't actually have the wheel.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I think they touched on that movie.
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. In fact, we should just unpack the Sensorites themselves as much as we can first, because that's my biggest problem with the story. These so-called aliens who have a civilization that makes no damn sense.
Yeah.
Who have biology that makes no damn sense. That have a system of government that makes no damn sense. And that's mainly, well, you sound like you had something
I was just
to
gonna say it all exists clearly for the story
Yeah.
they are trying
Yeah.
to
I mean,
tell.
why do they look the way they look? There's no adaptions they would need for any sort of, like, the fact that they don't like the dark, like,
Yeah.
other than the fact that their eyes were all black. I mean, like, why did they have disc feet? You know what I mean?
No
Like, what was the
eyelids.
point of that?
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't figure that out either.
The disc feet got me the most, I think.
Yeah,
Well.
because they look ridiculous on screen. You saw
Yeah,
those episodes I showed you.
I cheated. I actually saw a couple of the episodes before reading it.
Only 3.
Yeah, I saw.
So you saw the best of it.
Yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of just.
I mean,
What?
on a planet that's so much like supposedly like Earth, why do you have all these adaptions that make no sense?
Yeah.
You know?
Especially evolving without eyelids.
Yeah.
What would be the point?
They said something about the nose, which makes sense, but what about the eyelids? Mm-hmm. Like, do they sleep?
Apparently not. And if they do, they see everything. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what's his name meant about to see all the time is
Yeah.
not a good
and
thing.
the fact
Yeah.
that they can't hear anything loud.
Yeah.
Like, well, then maybe you just deserve to be wiped out for all of your for all of your precious metals. Like,
Oh, exactly. How did they not get wiped out in the past? Natural
I guess.
predators or something.
I guess if anything, it just goes to show that temperance, is a good thing because it doesn't allow you to be controlled by 3 men hiding
Yeah.
in a cave,
Yeah.
poisoning you with nightshade
Yeah.
of all things.
like where did that
We
come
have to
from?
plant this and let it grow,
Like,
and
where
then
did
let
it
it
come
get
from,
into
though?
your water supply, and then
Yeah,
hope that
like,
you
where-
get sick enough
like-
and your whole species dies.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I didn't get that either. That'll probably be on my worst line or worst thought ever
Oh,
is
yeah.
a nightshade.
Absolutely.
Deadly nightshade.
Deadly
Like, where did you
nightshade.
get it from?
Yeah.
It grows on the planet.
It's atropine poisoning. That could only be the deadly nightshade. It's like, oh, for God's sake.
You couldn't have made up
Really?
a plant.
No,
Of
of course not. Because the doctor needs to know,
Yeah.
and probably the science part of
Yeah.
the show, and how you cure poisons. I don't know what they were teaching kids on the BBC in 1964. They were teaching them some weird-ass shit, though. Oh, weird-ass crap. Never mind. We're going to swear all the way through this one.
Yeah,
It's the only way to survive it.
probably.
It's just so bizarre to me that no eyelids, for one thing. And I'm still stuck on that. I apologize. But the biggest thing is that they look so alike that they cannot tell each other apart without their badges of
Yeah.
office. How does that environment work? How does that society?
How has nothing like this happened
Yeah.
before?
Yes, because obviously they're not a perfect society. In fact, that's one of the things that's praised about this story is that they're in shades of gray. You've
Yeah.
got the administrator.
And where did this guy pop up from?
Yeah, I mean, what sort of? I mean, he's like Tagana all over again, or he's like Aztecs, Tlotoxl.
Yeah.
But Tlotoxl had motivations. Tagana had motivations. This guy's like, I don't trust Earthmen. I'm going to kill
Because
them
they
all.
want our stuff.
Yeah, because they want her stuff. It's like, oh, okay, I can kind of... Well, that, at least, that motivation
Yeah.
made some sense.
That makes sense.
But that's the only motivation he has.
Yeah.
Even when presented with solid evidence of the opposite being the case, it's almost as if he's been, elected president or something. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And there we lost our one viewer. Oh, sorry. No, we didn't. We didn't. But thank you for sticking with us because, oh my lord. Yeah, kind of crazy. Except if you think about that whole Peter R. Newman thing, the fact that, and I didn't mention this, the fact that he himself was a prisoner of war of the Japanese during World War II. And then came home and wrote a play about British war atrocities against the Japanese. In fact, very much a situation like those the people in the cave are doing against the Sensorites. So he's mining the same territory.
Yeah.
And if you look at it that way, it's like, oh, of course that's what they're doing. They're trying to destroy them from within, which is not the most efficient way to do it. Not in the least bit.
No.
Oh, it's just kind of awful. In fact, one of my questions was, Yesterday's Enemy was a story about British soldiers trapped behind enemy lines. By the way, folks, that's not someone trying to get in. That's Chicago weather for you.
It's Sensorites.
Yes, it's a Sensorites.
Sensorites.
But they wouldn't be out in this because
Yeah,
they can't stand
it's
loud
dark.
noises and the dark. British soldiers trapped behind enemy lines and doing things they would otherwise not be proud of. Is there a parallel in this story? And the answer is... obviously. Yeah, like you said, Sheena, it's kind of predictable, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Very.
Yeah.
Much so.
Why was it, what parts did you think were particularly predictable? Try saying that 5 times fast.
The parts that I thought were very predictable were pretty much everything.
Saw it all coming.
Yeah, it's like I just knew that, like, okay, they moved to the plant. Okay, they get the whole thing was just predictable. Just like the fact that there's guys inside of the water duct. Like I knew that was going to be the people that had left but didn't really leave. I
Yeah,
knew that. Like
it's telegraphed
yeah,
by mile.
and just everything. The fact that the administrator was going to try to take over the second in command's position, and it's just I can't say one part that I didn't find predictable, actually.
Yeah, it is kind of...
I was thrown for a loop maybe a couple times, only because I was like, oh, why did you go there? But then that was the only reason why, really.
Right, exactly.
But
to
I mean,
advance the plot.
everything that I read was like, I was just reading and I'm like, okay, like, let's get to it already. You know what I mean? Because it was extremely predictable.
Yeah.
What about those first few chapters where you did not know who the Sensorites were or why they...
I thought they were going to be actually something to be, like, afraid of, but they're not
Yeah,
at all.
and that's
You know?
kind of, yeah.
Maybe that's why. Maybe because I'm used to, like, more of like, a menacing aspect. And they were, like, totally unmenacing except for the one dude who had a problem.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's how they're presented at first, too.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, you...
Especially with the way they look, you know what I mean? Like, the way they look, I'm thinking, like, oh my god, they got, like, long heads and
Yeah.
circled feet, and
Except they
they
don't.
have no eyelids, and, yeah, I didn't expect it to look like that.
Yeah, they look pretty dumb. They look
Yeah.
like old men.
Yeah.
That illustration looks better than they look
Yeah.
on the TV.
Yeah.
This is true.
They don't have nearly that much facial hair.
Yeah.
Yes, they don't.
Having seen the episodes before starting reading, I will say that the book does a better job of giving you this foreboding feeling when they're on the ship. On the series, it's all really confined. It's all really close. We discussed like when they exit the TARDIS, it's in the exact same room
right there.
as the two astronauts they find, but in the book they describe it more as being like down a hall. So there's more like unknown. And on the TV show, when they come and steal the lock, it's like
They're right there.
right off screen.
Barbara says, I can smell something burning. I'm not going to
Yeah.
look over there, though, because that's where they're working.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's odd.
Unusual, but yeah, the book does a better job of making it seem more foreboding, making it seem more, oh no, what's going to happen. Even with Barbara and Susan when they are in the separate part of the ship with John. Mm-hmm. And even the way he was coming after them was more suspenseful. It was more like, what's he going to do? What's going to happen? Is he a friend? Is he an enemy? Has he been like completely taken over? What's left of him? You know, what's left of his brain? But yeah, so now I'm curious to see the way the rest of it plays out on screen.
Well, this is something I've said before. I love the way Nigel Robinson writes Barbara.
Yes,
She comes off beautifully in this book. Unfortunately, she's gone for episodes 3 and 4 because Jackie Hill had to go off on vacation. Damn Jackie Hill, anyway. Yeah,
No
she,
vacations.
Yeah, she went off on vacation, so Barbara isn't there. But when Barbara is there, she's being motherly towards John. She's treating him like one of her students.
she's
I
more
love that
attentive.
description.
I really love whenever she finally comes down to the planet and she's like, what the hell's going on, guys? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Which I think is great. And yeah, she's like, and what was his description? He said something along the lines of she came down and it didn't take her long to catch up because obviously everything's predictable.
Yeah.
And immediately got the sense of it. It's like, of course she did because she has a brain. They took the one character that seems to have a brain
Barbara?
in this story, yeah, and they left her up on the ship.
Well, they
Yeah.
have to give other
Well, then
people
they-
a chance
yeah,
to figure
yeah.
things out.
Yeah.
Susan had to figure herself out.
Oh, God. Yeah, we have to get to that, don't we? We have to talk about this weird sort of 2 steps forward in her maturation process, and then the next story it's going to be 1 step back, and then we get one more story where she's just kind of, and then she's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can they say?
I
No
don't-
spoilers or anything, but she's
I mean, I don't know
She
what
was super
happens
cool
to
in this
her.
story, though.
Okay.
She's,
You
She
thought
had
so?
like telepathy and stuff, and used her mind powers, so that was pretty cool.
Which she only has here for some reason.
Yeah.
still don't see how she's the doctor's granddaughter. Not even gonna.
I have a few theories about that.
She's not.
Well, actually, there is one fan theory that says she isn't. I know. I don't think much of that either, doggy. The fan theory that says that she isn't says that none of the current day Gallifreyans reproduce naturally, even though the new series shows that they do.
Yeah.
And that the Doctor actually traveled into Gallifrey's past, and he is the reincarnation of her grandfather. So she recognized him as her grandfather. He didn't recognize her as such. And there's that. I've never thought much of that. It's just smacks of, this whole thing of not
It's
wanting
kinda
the
creepy.
Doctor to have a sex life.
Kind of creepy.
That's exactly what it is. Even though the idea of the Time Lords looming themselves out of genetic matter is kind of a cool one.
Yeah.
Makes them actually alien.
Yeah.
But no, in the new series they have families. Bizarre families, but they
Well,
have
why would they
families.
be? Yeah. I mean, I could see him being sexual, but I wouldn't see him having a family because he's like traveling throughout space.
Well, now he is, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then he would be like super sad about not being home.
Well, I think of it this way. Time Lords seem to have lives because they're able to regenerate 12 times. Is it 12 times? 12 times. Or at least it used to be. Thank you, Peter Capaldi.
I was gonna say, yeah.
12 times. And what they do is if they decide to have a home life, they choose one of their incarnations to do that. And then after that incarnation is over, they might continue that family life or they don't.
Sweet.
That still gives them a lot of time to have a family.
Yeah, it does. And in fact, you get that line of David Tennant's to Rose saying, I was a dad once. And he does it offhandedly. And she's like, what? And he thinks nothing of it because this is the dad that Hartnell was when he was a dad and had a family, but decided to leave Gallifrey and become whatever it is he is now. Itinerant adventurer, liar extraordinaire,
Jeez.
controller of the weather.
The windows are like
knows.
shaking out of control.
Yeah, it really is. But Susan, you're right. Susan does have a lot more to do in this book.
Yeah. She's
And
finding herself.
she is, and it's kind of nice though because
Yeah, no, yeah.
if she's the teenage stand-in character for most of the audience, then that's kind of what the audience is looking at. They're
Yeah.
looking at this sort of situation.
Yeah.
My theory is that either Susan actually is the age she appears to be, which is 15, which would be an infant by Gallifreyan standards.
Which is harsh for me calling her stupid.
Yeah, it is. Or she could be stupid. There could be some, how to do this tactfully and PC-wise.
Don't bother.
Yeah, there might be some mental deficiency there. She might be special.
Maybe she's not special. Maybe she's just like, like on this trip with her grandfather. And, I mean, she hasn't had the ability to like be a normal kid from wherever she's from. So these feelings are just things that she's getting slowly because now she sees like Barbara and and the older all of the older people are grouping up and she's just here with her grandfather like
Yeah, it could be
ew.
that.
You know what I mean?
She may not have
She's
gone
like
to...
she's probably mentally stunted in the fact of having like a normal
That's
quote
true.
unquote normal life in that sense.
So she hasn't gone to the Time
Yeah,
Lord
yeah,
Academy.
she
Hasn't
hasn't-
done anything
yeah.
a Gallifreyan young woman would do.
Yeah.
That
That's
makes
true.
sense.
It's kind of like
That's- yeah.
being a woman and not having a mom, sort of. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah,
you wouldn't
because-
know like all the things you would know if you had a mom.
Yeah, because we never find out what actually happens to the Doctor's wife, to the Doctor's daughter, granddaughter, daughter or son or whoever it is that is the actual parents
Yeah.
of Susan. So, yeah, it's kind of an open question, and none of the books really address it. The books do go back and forth about whether or not she's actually that age or whether
Yeah.
she's a time lady, which means she would actually be about 80 or 90 by the time. One of the audio dramas does that. Carol Ann Ford, who is the actress who plays Susan, actually in that audio drama says something about Ian and Barbara and says they didn't realize that I was older than both of them combined by that point. And it's like, then why didn't you act it? It's like, because Gallifreyans don't. That's, yeah, but somehow, yeah, I don't know. She does come off better in this book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is
She's
that.
getting there. She's still not my favorite.
She's getting there. Yeah,
Youths.
Yeah, youth. Don't talk to me about youth. Tomorrow I give up my youth. Oh. There's swearing in this book, speaking of which. That's why we're swearing in this podcast, because Ian says goddamn. He says goddamn it on page 46, which just the swearing shocked the fuck out of me. To put it bluntly. It was just amazing. I'll probably bleep that in the... Yeah, because I can just see iTunes
For real
rejecting
bleep, yeah.
it for that. Yeah, goddamn it. Why won't you speak? And I know that it's not that goddamn has a lesser feel to it in British English. Like the C
Bloody?
word. Yeah, that's just it. For the British, bloody is really kind of a swear, but it's more like damn. Whereas
Yeah.
the C word, which we think of as the worst word you can
C
say.
to the U to the
Yeah, exactly. They just throw it around as if yeah, ass.
Well, and it's not spelled correctly anyway, so it's not even.
It's not spelled correctly, so it's probably. I think that's how they get around
Gadam.
it.
It's gadam.
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 Gadam it. Yeah, I could just see a science teacher saying that. Gadam it. Why won't you speak? But yeah, that's in this book, and this is years before the controversy. Well, it's a few years away from. The former producer of Doctor Who, Barry Letts, actually wrote a couple of radio plays in the 90s, and he adapted them. Mm-hmm. He does let the Doctor say damn in Paradise of Death, which I think is the first time the Doctor ever does it. But it's the John Pertwee Doctor, and you expect him to swear. And then you get the word cow shit in Ghosts of End Space. I can't even explain the context there. Ghosts of End Space has the word cow shit in it.
It's literal.
Yeah. Well, actually.
Is
yeah.
it?
That's the sad part. It actually is. And there was a controversy over that. And then you get the book Transit,
And then you cut to 2017 and none of it matters anymore.
Well, it still does because the BBC books don't allow swearing.
No?
No.
Still?
No.
Well, it's for children, right?
The Virgin books in the 90s did. The fourth, fifth, I can't remember which novel it was, but the book Transit used the F word for the first time.
Oh.
And they had to change it to cruck.
Cruck.
So, crucking this, crucking that, it's just like, Battlestar Galactica fragging this and fragging this.
Oh,
Was it fragging? Fracking.
fracking.
Fracking. So every time I see a news article on fracking, I just titter my little girlish head off. Right. Let me put this aside and go through. Dalton, let me ask you a question directly. How does the prose in this book compare to Robinson's later prose in Edge of Destruction? Would you say that his writing is still crushingly bad prose, like that one guy on Goodreads said?
I didn't feel like Edge of Destruction was crushingly bad either, so I don't know. It feels about the same.
Okay.
A lot of the descriptions, Edge of Destruction reading about the ship and the spookiness and the eeriness and that was familiar with the beginning of this book. And yeah, I feel like the way he handled the rest of it is, it's pretty similar. It's not difficult to read. It's pretty much just laid out in front of you. It's this is what's happening, and here's where everyone's going, and this is what's yada yada yada. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
All right.
it's pretty good.
Sheena, you've done something that Dalton has not done.
What is
You've
that?
experienced the beautiful crystal clear prose of David Whitaker. So in the Daleks book.
Yeah.
So you've read kind of the creme de la creme. You haven't encountered Nigel Robinson's prose before.
No.
What do you think of him as a general writer?
I don't think he's a bad writer. I have nothing to base against, I guess, so it's kind of hard.
We can base it against the other books, right?
Yeah, okay, the story is very predictable. The writing wasn't bad in the sense that, I wasn't lost anywhere or anything.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
It's very straightforward. Nothing is, where I'm like, oh God, why is this, where is this not that where is this going, but nothing is complicated to figure out, but I think it's the story that is just eh. So the reading was, this is the longest book I've read of them, and I read it the fastest.
Really?
Yeah. So
Wow. You did better than I did.
there's something to say for that, I guess.
I had to walk away from it. I really did.
I read it in literally probably 3 hours.
Yeah, I finished it all last night.
Yeah.
I just sat
Yeah.
on the couch and just...
Yeah, I read it on the train.
And I read half of it and was like, I can't do this anymore. And I had to walk away for a week. Because I knew it was coming. I had just watched the TV version. I was like, oh my God, there's nothing new here.
It was very straightforward, though. I can see him being more of, I don't know if I would say a sci-fi writer, but maybe somebody who writes manuals or something. I don't know, you know what I mean?
He writes quiz books.
Yeah, so yeah, something, you know what I mean, where you think, but
You don't
it's
think?
not hard. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a history book, you think about it, but you just keep reading, kind of type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's like softball.
Nothing-
Here's the
yeah,
nice
yeah.
underhanded
Nothing
pitch
was
right in the middle for you to get everything on set.
and this definitely wasn't a story where you had to worry about really what all of the characters, none of them were described except for the Sensorites, the people in the spaceship. No one, I didn't know what John looked like. I had no idea what Carol looked like. You know what I mean? None of these people I had any sort of thought to anything they might look like. So I don't know. I guess considering all of that, I guess he's a pretty good writer in the sense that I still was able to read the story and not die.
It's less about the characters and more about what's happening.
Yeah,
It's less
I don't
about...
know. You know what I mean?
I have to admit, in praise of Robinson, he's very good at giving his characters as much background as possible. There's that lengthy recap at the beginning, which is nice, of in which the characters are talking about the previous episodes, but that's done in dialogue in the televised version. He does it in prose, and it's really quite good. And he also makes that sense of menace work with that prologue of just the dead spaceship, which is, again...
Yeah, that was that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and that makes you think you're getting a better story than you did.
Yeah,
Which is the ultimate letdown.
Yeah, exactly. The beginning part's like, oh yeah, this ghost ship.
Yeah.
And then it's like, brr.
And even up until they meet the Sensorites, and even after they meet the Sensorites, there's still this little bit of like, what's gonna happen, and then you realize
nothing's gonna happen.
Nothing's gonna happen.
Nothing.
Yeah, pretty much.
The thing that I find is both in the televised version and in the book, as soon as the Sensorites talk, menace is gone.
Yeah.
It's just like,
the fact that they're like mice.
They really are.
They're scared of everything.
They are absolutely
I would just keep
terrifying.
screaming at them until they like gave me all their stuff.
I would. What little stuff they have to give? All the crystal light.
All the molybdenum.
Give me all your crystal light. Give me all your.
You could totally take over that planet. Like they were so nice in this book.
He also does, Robinson, a very nice bit of continuity, and it's not continuity that I think it was in the original script, because Maitland tells Ian and Barbara there hasn't been a London for over 400 years, just before telling them it's the 28th century. That puts it right around the 22nd. And in a few stories, gentle listeners, we're going to find out why there hasn't been a London since the 22nd century, because the Dalek invasion of Earth is right around the corner, and that was the 22nd century. So it's like, oh, that works out nicely. You think it was
Daleks made humans even worse.
Oh yeah, made putzes like Maitland and what's her name, Carol. I can never remember her name. And
I couldn't remember
forgettable.
Maitland's name.
She's pretty forgettable.
Well,
She's always just
barely
worried
there.
about John.
Yeah. John of the three of them is the most.
I know. I always refer to them as John and Marcia. It's like, because she's basically Marcia.
Yeah.
But I do love the fact, for instance, that the Doctor says he's not curious. I'm never curious. And Ian thinks that's like Attila the Hun saying he just wants to stay home and take care of the kids. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's like your whole life is curiosity, obviously.
Exactly. All right, what else? That image of the Sensorite floating outside the viewport and staring at them is just as scary on the page as it is on screen. It's just a shame that it falls apart if it's examined too closely, because let's get back to the Sensorites. How in the hell do they exist in a vacuum without spacesuits? Why is
heads?
it? Yeah, I guess, but how do they adapt that? I mean,
Yeah,
they don't have
that
eyelids.
makes no sense either. If their planet is like Earth, how could they be in space?
Yeah, their planet is very Earth-like.
They have an atmosphere.
Yeah.
They have those
They
floppy
have water. Maybe it's the feet.
feet. I guess it's a feet, but it's never explained.
There's something in the feet. And that's where it is.
I
The
was thinking,
agony of defeat.
and when I first heard about the feet, I was like, oh, maybe it's because like their planet's made out of metal, and so that you can't hear them walking.
Yeah.
But no.
That would mean that they're trying to slip away from something.
And then they said they were fast, but how is that fast having disc feet?
I know, the flop, yeah. And it doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, and watching the episode, they don't seem fast at all. They're very slow. Everything about it is very slow.
They're trying not to trip over those damn feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's crazy.
he sets up this whole, atmosphere of the ship and the worry, and then you have these menacing creatures that walk plodding down the hallway.
Yes, and that
you
works.
don't ever have to run. You don't ever have to do anything. It's like, well, why are
They're
you
just
so
like,
curious?
I just like thought of them being like that.
But then also, like...
And they probably are. They never show it because they couldn't do it in those costumes.
Barbara and Susan defy them just by saying, we defy you. With their brain. Like, that immediately... Whereas, like, in other episodes and other parts of the series, I've seen, like... They take this idea of a slow enemy and turn it on its head with the angels, and it's fun
works.
and it's good, and it's like, yeah. But this, it's just like, if you don't walk fast and I can make you stop doing whatever you do by talking loud or turning off the lights.
You deserve it.
Or just by thinking, I defy you.
Wow.
That immediately is just like...
Yeah.
You're as
like
pissed
those
at the story
Earth
as I
people,
am, aren't
like
you?
those
I'm coming around
like-
to disliking it as much as you dislike it.
The Earth people on the ship, though, like, how stupid are they?
Very.
Well,
How do you mean?
I mean, they're just dumb, because how did you not figure this out?
Yeah.
You've got people from, like, the 21st century figure this shit out You know what I mean?
Well, they
And
got
you're-
Barbara. They got Barbara.
Still though, like
She's a pretty tough cookie.
Yeah, she is.
I'm just saying, like
For the longest time, I thought that when
it's
Barbara
like the
and
28th
Susan,
century, and you're not like
they
you're,
should be a little more super smart than this. But
Right.
no,
Have you not experienced any other
Yeah.
alien life forms
Yeah.
before?
But they
And
did.
They have. They've been
I know.
invaded by alien
I
life
know.
forms.
That's why I'm saying, like, why?
Maybe
are you
that's why
afraid
they're
of-
super scared though.
Why are you afraid of these eyelidless, weird old man? Like, there's nothing about them that they should be afraid of.
Yeah, no.
Well, admittedly, there is a nice touch in Chapter 2 that even the humans get a little crazy at times because when they're trying to get away from Susan, of course they're trying to get away from Susan. When they're trying to get away from John, Barbara and Susan are trying to pull a door open, but it opens outwards.
Yeah.
And Nigel Robinson just kind of puts that in, which they didn't realize opened outwards. And it's like, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Why don't we have more of that sort of thing?
Yeah.
But
Because
instead,
that's an actual mistake someone would make when they're running away from someone.
yes, and it makes sense, especially if you're kind of freaked out by some, floppy-footed freak.
That made all these
Yeah.
people crazy.
Yes.
You would think they're a lot more.
That they're more
trouble.
powerful.
Yeah,
they
for
should
sure.
be. They absolutely should be more powerful if they're able to just kind of turn people's minds off.
Into mush.
I was gonna say.
Oh, and then they have
it's-
they have like stuff to do that with.
Yeah.
They totally have the power to be these largely
need to evolve.
dangerous alien race. They could completely destroy lots of things, but
Yes.
they don't.
Because of their eyeballs.
And
Yes.
well, it just shows
Yeah,
that,
it's
like,
just like they can't hear screaming or.
No.
they evolved all of these fantastic things, but they also evolved all of these.
Yeah.
Really
Well,
kind of,
admittedly, I know I shouldn't be using a later story to comment on this one, but given that
Cheater.
I know, but given that the new series establishes that the Sense Sphere is in the same solar system as the Ood Sphere, it makes sense because the Ood also go down that weird kind of evolutionary path. They're holding their hindbrains in their hands. They're born that way. It's like, why would anyone evolve that way?
That's dumb.
Yeah, it really is.
But
That's
the
why I
Ood-
don't really like
the
the
We
Ood-
evolved to carry our brains in our hand. Like,
Yeah.
could you not have made something else?
But
guess.
the Ood too are, at first, they seem menacing and they seem very
do.
much like, oh my god, what are these creepy things?
But
But
then
they
they're just
actually
like
are.
hit their
in
hand.
ways.
Yes, in
Hit their
ways.
hand.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it doesn't stay because they actually. I almost said castrate them. They don't castrate them. They lobotomize
Lobotomize.
them because they cut that off and they put a translator sphere on it to enslave them.
Okay.
Now that kind of works, except how did they evolve that way to begin with?
They're like, oh, no need
No,
for craniums.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No need.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this is God. It just that whole solar system just makes
Yeah.
no sense at all. And thank you, Russell T Davis, for making it make even less so. Yeah, and why would the Sensorites want John to frighten them? Why don't they just come on the ship and frighten them themselves? It's just
Because there's,
yeah, it's stuff like that. It's stuff like there's so little to work with in the script that Nigel Robinson, when he does expand, he expands on the characters. He can't expand on the Sensorites, or doesn't, mainly because I think he's looking at it and saying, this doesn't make sense to me either. How am I going to explain this? And it's better if you're a writer, sometimes it happens when I do it, to either go for the craziest explanation possible and hope to God the readers don't question it too much. And that seems to work sometimes.
Yeah.
You can get away
which
with a
we're
lot.
not going to do.
Yeah, which we're not going to do.
I mean, we always
Well,
question
we-
everything.
Exactly. We question everything. Or just not do it at all. Path of least resistance. And on top of it all, he's got, 150 pages to fill?
Yeah.
He can't fill it with too much expansion. Though,
You gotta use some.
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe, but you know what though? If it was too long-winded, that was what was good about it though.
It was over
What?
fast.
Yeah.
It's just,
Video was interrupted.
oh no. Uh-oh.
I
Resume.
get to
Resume.
try to touch the screen without knocking the phone over.
There we go.
What up?
Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened to the video there for a moment. We'll probably cut this out
Don't
of
be
the...
scared.
I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah.
It's probably fine. I don't know what happened there, though.
Like it's...
Yeah, it's working. It's juddering a little bit, but that's fine. That's fine.
The internet doesn't that.
One thing I do notice about Robinson, he sure loves his rhetorical question stingers, doesn't he? As in, would they ever find out the secret of the deadly nightshade? It's like, oh my god. It's like having...
I don't know. How many chapters are left in the book?
Quite a few, apparently.
Then I think they will find out.
Yeah, and the Sensorites themselves don't actually... Their motivations don't make any sense. They threatened them all with death if Susan didn't come with them, and then they said, oh, we don't wish you any harm. It's like, you just threatened us all with death, dude.
Yeah.
If Susan doesn't come, I mean, Susan's
how
a
are you
hot
gonna
piece
kill
there,
them?
but she's not a hot piece at all.
How are you gonna kill them either?
They're playing
Like,
mind
what are you gonna
games,
do?
but
Yeah.
it's...
That's
That's
it. That's
the
all I
only
know.
sort of games they know how to play.
Yeah.
Telepathic rays. They probably can't tell each other apart well enough to play normal games.
Yeah, that's the dumb part too.
Yeah, no names. They
No
don't have
name.
names.
Yeah.
They have family
And how
groups.
do they breed?
That's, yes. They have family groups. But nowhere in this book do they talk about female Sensorites.
No.
No.
We don't see any in the thing, in the televised
Just
version.
odd.
Do females look different than males?
Oh.
How would you even know who you were doing it
Oh
with?
my god, it's like Terry Pratchett and the dwarves, that they all have beards,
Yeah.
which can lead to some very embarrassing moments when they decide to have marital relations. Yeah. It's hilarious, but it doesn't work in a serious piece of science fiction. Well, that's just it. We get into the question of whether or not Doctor Who is a serious piece of science fiction at this point. This story is trying to be.
Doctor Who seems to fluctuate. Sometimes it's very serious, and sometimes it's very much just nonsensical fun.
Yes.
And that, you know, depending on the type of person you are, sometimes it makes you mad, and
Well,
sometimes
I
you
mean,
like it.
it's fun to be fun, but this wasn't that fun.
No, that's true. Speaking of fun, we've got a viewer. Hello. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Yes, we see you watching us. We know you're watching. Well, yeah, I still wonder, how does the lower caste function? They just work and play. That's
They
the
didn't even
line.
say anything
They
about
work
working,
and play.
did they?
Well, yeah, they do.
But they just said they just play, I thought.
Oh,
well, like, what kind of working do they do?
What's the actual line? Because it's a direct line from the "Hello, Liz McClelland." Yes, we actually
What
have a
up,
name.
Liz?
What up, Liz? Hello. There is a line about, well, our caste system works quite well because the lower castes work and play, and we do all the other stuff. And,
Yeah.
oh gosh, where is it? I know it's in chapter 6. This was where it took me a week to get back to this book. Because I was like, no, this is where it just stops being interesting to me. Oh, Ian has his coughing fit. It's before that. The disintegrator. Yeah, the administrator threatening them with said disintegrator, which for some reason they have. The one thing that Nigel Robinson does add in here is that they had some sort of warlike period. It's like, well, it can't be like the Klingons.
No.
67 on the PDF.
67 on the PDF. What's the first line of the paragraph? Because we're in different versions, unfortunately.
There's Earth people are not popular, he agreed. They fear that you may bring disease and death to our people. We must explain to them that this disease, if that's what it is nobody's fault.
Yeah.
And then later down it says, they say you can't talk to the lower caste. And then
People
Susan's
aren't
like, lower caste?
popular.
What?
Earth people aren't popular. Sorry. I was having a moment. Yes, there it is. All are happy, but some are happier than others, finished Ian. Yeah, there it is. The elders think and rule. The warriors fight. They have warriors. What the hell are these warriors warring against these days? Earth people, probably. While and the Sensorites work and play. All the rest of the Sensorites.
But also, like, how are they warring if the slightest bit of loud noise keeps them from doing anything?
It's a very quiet war.
Who are they warring
Yes.
against?
It's a very silent
They're
war.
using those guns they've had.
It's a silent but deadly war.
Yeah.
Yeah. SBD.
Which it can't be because they don't have noses.
SBD. W.
I'm sorry. The older I get, the more I like dad jokes. I can't help it.
Dad joke.
Oh, we lost our viewers with that one.
Goodbye.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, all this stuff is just crazy, really. Let me, we paused on this again. I think we're losing connections. What's happening?
Maybe the,
resume.
There we go.
Maybe it's because it's on so long, probably.
I think that's it. And we do have somebody. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what the broadcasting is doing, but it may be that the phone is... the phone that we're broadcasting this on is probably having difficulty keeping up with the huge amount of traffic we have of viewers. Yeah, I'm sure that's it. The differences between the Sense Sphere and Marinus are just staggering. Not only do they all look the same, they have one city. And it's named The City. Because they don't have a name for that either. I just don't get this society at all.
All right, what you just said the last one we read?
Marinus.
Marinus was awesome.
Marinus was awesome compared to this.
It had lakes of acid and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
And as I say in my notes,
It was more science fiction.
for that matter, how do they procreate if they can't tell each other apart? Oh, sorry about the accidental sodomy, sir. I thought you were my wife.
Maybe they have both portholes.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of silent but deadly. These are all questions that Robinson could answer, and he doesn't. And it kind of drives me crazy when a novelization does that, because we read Whitaker doing Daleks.
Yeah.
And he went into such detail, like the shower machine, the shaving machine, all that other stuff.
Yeah. Everything was very... Yeah.
Yeah, he explained...
And it was in less pages.
Yeah, and much less pages.
Yeah.
Well, not much less, but it was still,
Yeah,
about
I mean,
the
it was
same.
around the same. Yeah.
And Edge of Destruction, because he was expanding a two-parter, we got to see more of the TARDIS.
Yeah.
It was lovely. It was absolutely lovely. And here, the most he adds is that Ian vomits, which is what the salt water's for.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that until I actually read the book, and I was like, of course
Does that
it's
even
for
work?
vomiting.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
It does, but our phone does not.
Yeah.
Will you do us a favor?
Yeah. If you...
It's a purgative.
If you eat like a tablespoonful of salt and drink a bunch of water...
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's just like drinking Pepsi and milk mixed
Ew.
together.
Ew.
That will make you puke like a mofo.
Never heard of that one.
Yeah, it's really nasty. Believe it or not, the link between the water and the illness is revealed just as ham-fistedly in the televised version. No suspense at all. That's the problem with this book. There's no suspense.
No.
There really isn't.
No.
And it doesn't make much of a distinction between evil and hostile, does it? Because John keeps saying, I sense evil. It's like, no, you sense ambition.
Yeah.
It's not even blonde ambition. It's just ambition. You knew I was going to go there, right? Oh, sorry.
She's been long dead.
Yeah.
As far as you know. It could be a
True.
Futurama kind of thing where she has her head
Yeah,
frozen. And she's still monsters of the caves indeed. Good God. I will say this, though. The Doctor acts far more doctorish here.
Yeah, the Doctor's dope in this book.
Yeah, he really is. Why would you say so?
The Doctor is super on it. He is... I mean, like... I think in this book, he's the most Doctor that I've... Like, when I think of the Doctor, I think of this guy. He's, like, making up maps. He's going in places. He's
flying a spaceship.
He's figuring out like recipes to fix diseases. He's caring for his niece and going through that. So he's multitasking.
Oh yeah.
He's totally multitasking.
Well, and like he has it all figured out before.
He's definitely
He's got it.
Like even when they're still trying to make the reader aware that there are things down in the aqueduct, the Doctor's just like, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
We'll be okay. I'm not worried about whatever's down there. Because even though they don't really say it, it's like the Doctor's already aware that
The Doctor already knows what's going on. It's like he's done this before, I think.
Absolutely already knows.
Yeah.
he already knows, like, these are the humans, and I'm going to go down, and I will talk to them.
Yeah.
And they'll act either like they like me or they don't like me.
Maybe-
I can either
maybe
get them to
in
do
the-
what I want or not.
Maybe
either way.
in this book, the Doctor's it's predictable to the Doctor even what's going to happen.
Yeah. And that's
Maybe that's
kind
the
of,
whole
that's
thing
being
about
told
the
from his point of
book
view.
is that the Doctor finds it incredibly predictable, and it is. And that's the whole book. Because he knows everything that's going on. Like, he knows it's something to do with something when Ian gets sick, he knows immediately that it's the water.
Oh my God, it's
when,
totally diegetic.
You know what I mean? Like, when he gets down in the caves, he's like, I know this has to be human. Like, he knew.
This is true. And the second Doctor will do that occasionally and say, oh yeah, I knew this was going to happen. And his companions will say, well, why did you let it happen? He's like, well, I wanted to find out if it would play out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what he's doing. The Ninth Doctor.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like there were instances where the Doctor feels like he knows what's going to happen and it doesn't go the way he wants it to.
Yes.
And that ends up biting him in the ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the next story, that's really going to happen a lot.
So it goes both ways. Sometimes he knows and he just has to let it play through to make sure that, yes, okay, I was following scent. And sometimes it's like he's on the wrong path. And
the interesting thing, too, is that when he goes down into the caves and he is doing that whole kind of, I think it's a recording or something like that. And he's like, this is getting curiouser and curiouser. It's almost as if you hear the Ninth Doctor saying, fantastic. Yeah. You can tell that it's like he's just loving trouble.
Oh, yes.
He's absolutely loving it. But then he gets attacked. And he says something hit me under the heart. Singular. Which is that fan theory, that old fan theory that Time Lords only have one heart until they regenerate for the first time. Which the next book is going to flip. And give him all of his Time Lord physiology. And you're like, okay, he suddenly has two hearts now. But yeah, it's just so strange reading these in story order. It really is. And I see, oh no. And we see the all caps. I see the all caps on my thing here. And it says, how, and I'm going to swear here, dear listeners, how in the fuck does someone listen in on a mental conversation?
Yeah.
They treat telepathy as if it's radio in this book. And in the televised story, and Nigel Robinson doesn't go really out of his way to explain how that works. So I think that might be the problem. And bless his little heart, there are typos all throughout this book. It's just ridiculous. Oh, there is a reference to Marinus on page 103. I forgot all about that. A little continuity never hurt anybody. Unfortunately, it produces such a momentary thrill. Hello. I see two people.
Two people.
Oh, and we lost one.
One person.
If you're there, say hello.
There's
We're
no
lonely.
nudity
hello.
in this.
Not yet. Haven't gotten to the second beer yet. You know, there's a surefire way to ruin an evening. A rag dipped in chloroform or whatever the Sensorite equivalent is.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I've got lots of notes. So we should ask y'all some of the questions I've been asking you to come up with. Your favorite moment in the book, if you had one.
I don't have mine. Is that the same question as you're gonna ask? Like, what's our worst and favorite part? Or
Yeah.
Okay. My favorite part of the book is actually a part with it's a thought kind of that the Doctor has, and it has to do with like the whole situation of, I guess, what's going on in general, like with the Doctor. And it says, as they walked away, the Doctor smiled inwardly to himself. There were those who said that he shouldn't meddle in the affairs of others and he shouldn't become involved. At times he might be inclined to agree with them, but when his presence could generate such noble ideas in people, teach them the meaning of compassion and understanding, well, then perhaps this aimless wandering of his might be of some secret purpose after all.
That's at the end of the book, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, like that thought is like, I think is like the encapsulation of probably what this whole thing is about.
Right.
So to me, that was probably like my best line.
Okay.
That's what I would say. But as for action wise, I guess, like not my favorite part, but like my favorite thing is like when like Barbara comes down from the spaceship and it's like, yeah, this is going on and this is going on and this is going on, and like, you know, like this is the deal. Like she should have been there the whole time. You know, she was like Doctor Number 2.
Then it would be a
She's just up on the spaceship, just like figuring everything out.
Calculating.
Like,
I tell you, that bouffant is her brain. It's coming out of her skull.
But that was like my favorite like favorite character of this book was the Doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite thing that happened was her just coming down like,
And getting it.
Yeah.
Immediately.
yeah. So,
And it's interesting that you say that about that moment, because if you really think about it, what noble thoughts have his actions really inspired at all? Apart from the Sensorites kind of thinking, oh, these humans don't suck as much as we thought after all.
And that was only a couple of them, too, that thought that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Of the books that we've read.
Yeah,
Maybe he has
yeah,
other
yeah, yeah, for
adventures.
sure.
Yeah.
But, like, I mean, he
Before
came
the-
up with, like, I mean, he did kind of, like, change the whole concept for the whole race of aliens about humans, even though in the book, Susan says, we're not human.
Yeah.
We're from another planet.
Right.
So in all actuality, you can trust us, but I mean, those Sensorites should probably not trust any more freaking humans.
No.
And especially at the end of the book when it, like, leads to the fact of, like, okay, if they go back, like, we did all this stuff, what if they just say, like, yeah, we still want the shit.
Yeah, we still.
We
need
already,
our
and
heavy
they
metals,
know
like-
everything about how to get rid of them, too, now. Like,
Yeah.
before they were mentally incapacitated.
Right.
Yeah.
I think they should have just made them stay there.
Who should
I
make
think they
who
should
stay?
have.
The
I think the
Sensorites should have
Sensorites
made
should have
the
made them Earth people stay there.
Oh,
They would have been fine.
They probably would have.
They could have just had a freaking threesome.
Right, like you
and-
can't go back to Earth, but we will let you stay on our planet, and like we won't keep.
No,
you pressing
seriously,
them.
I would have made them stay there, and I've been like, you know what? You got one Earth woman to deal with.
But
Give your go.
yeah, but you
okay?
haven't seen Maitland.
It doesn't matter. I wouldn't have not let them go back to Earth. Like
Okay.
in
I
the
could see
TARDIS,
that.
I would have let them go because they're not going to stay there. They're from another. They explained everything to them, like what they're doing.
Right.
But the Earth people, like, forget that. I ain't letting you back, knowing that if I scream at you, you scream at me, you're gonna take my whole planet
Yeah.
with like a loudspeaker. No.
And they probably would do that too.
Yeah,
Because
they
it's
would.
just one group of humans.
It's humans.
Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite moment is it's a Barbara moment, and it actually comes from the beginning of the book. Whenever they first land, or they first are aware that they are somewhere, and they're about to exit the TARDIS to go out onto the ship, and Ian's like, "Doctor, have you checked everything out?" And he's like, "Yeah, everything's good. The atmosphere's, it's all there, breathable air." And Susan's like, or not Susan, Barbara's like, "So the only thing we have to fear is the unknown." So she's pretty much saying, like, so the only thing we have to fear is everything in the
Yeah.
universe,
Yeah, except for the air.
we know we can breathe.
And then she says, as usual.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I just love that bit of snark, just
Yeah.
from the get go. Barbara's
Oh,
already
God.
just like,
Oh, she's marvelous.
Yeah.
But
But everything else is gonna be a problem.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Even though it really wasn't.
She is really brilliant. The little bit she gets in this book. One of my favorite moments, not my favorite, because I think you two nabbed those, but when Ian and the Doctor go down into the caves, and the Doctor says, "Yeah, it's the astronauts from the ship, my boy," and the exchange is this: "But what are they doing down here?" asked Ian. "Why, hiding and poisoning the water, of course," the Doctor explained patiently, as though he were dressing a rather dull but witless child. And it's like, oh, bless. He's being such an asshole there.
but I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ian's being a little
Ian's
dense.
being a little dense.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, he has been sick.
True.
You know,
Yeah.
he has been sick. He's had deadly nightshade poisoning. Of course he's
yes.
a little witless.
How did
and
they come
brainless.
up with a potion to like make them better too? If they had no chemistry,
Well,
they didn't.
I think the idea is that they had no deep concept of chemistry, not to the same
But
degree
how
we
would you
do.
interact Deadly Nightshade though? In all actuality,
With the Doctor's special powers.
I mean, like like scientifically, even like now, if you were to be
He has
poisoned
a
with
plus
it, you would
10 in
die.
chemistry.
He is a plus 10 in chemistry, yeah. He rolled an 8-sided die and he got that ability. You're right. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And this is something that really bothers me about this book, that Nigel Robinson could add
Because they
stuff
had like
to.
no explanation for that at all.
And yet that's the addition.
Yeah.
Because it's not actually said on screen that they have no idea of chemistry.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I just don't know how you would come up with something that quickly
nor do I.
without having any sort of chemicals or
No. Because they don't let them back into the TARDIS, so
Yeah.
the Doctor's got to make it all up as he goes.
Well, they explain that they have scientific instruments. They have everything there. They just don't.
But
know
like,
chemistry.
but what?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know chemistry, but you can know botany.
Yeah,
You can know the way plants.
Well, if that's the
affect
case,
other
they would know
plants.
it was atropine poisoning, wouldn't they?
Not
because the
necessarily.
nightshade
They
might...
just know they're drinking water and getting sick.
They don't.
They didn't even
they
know
don't
that, though.
Well, they don't put that together, but
Which means they don't even have chemistry. They don't really have medicine
Yeah.
in the same way that humanity does, which is just the dumbest damn
Yeah,
thing.
it is.
which is again is more questions about why is this race even existing the way they
How
do?
did they
Maybe
get
they deserve
there?
what the humans are gonna bring them.
You know, I think their warlike period was against the Ood. Because if you can imagine the Sensorites and the Ood fighting the other, it's like, yeah,
One
that
to-
would be just like...
Brain to,
Yeah.
And not,
Brain
and
to
no
flick.
one going anywhere.
Yeah. Hitting
Just
each other
slap
with-
fights
right with
with their brains.
foam baseball
Oh
bats.
my god, that makes all the sense in the world, because if you think about it, oh my god, I just thought of it. The Sensorites have this limited technological, telepathic power, and the Ood are fairly telepathic, but they have their hindbrain in their hand. So, of course, that would be the way that you would fight each other. It wouldn't be physical fights at all. I know, that doesn't make any sense. Still.
makes sense.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah, but it's still stupid.
Well, the story's
But-
stupid.
But the story has its problems.
There's lots of holes, and we're just
Yeah.
trying to fill the holes.
Fill
With
the
knowledge.
holes. Sorry about the accidental sodomy, sir. I thought you were my wife. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the thing. The Sensorites and the Ood share this much in common. They're somehow incredibly willing to give the Doctor credit for teaching them something or saving them when he hasn't really done a damn thing, apart from finding the cause of the disease. When the Ood call him the Dr. Donna, they haven't actually done anything at all. In that later story, they're just there to witness it. Somehow. It's kind of the stupidest thing. Robinson does change the end of the story, which I like. In the televised version, the Doctor takes such umbrage at what Ian says about his piloting skills that he threatens to put them off the ship at the very next opportunity. And that's how the story ends. He's plotting a course to put Ian and Barbara off the ship. And that's how Reign of Terror opens.
Really?
Yeah, and it almost
and
happens
why is
here.
that?
Because the Doctor is mercurial and an asshole, as we knew. This Doctor, anyway. Well,
Yeah.
all Doctors, really. But if you look at the end, he does say something.
Oh,
in
I
the
was gonna
epilogue.
leave you if you didn't hurry up.
No. At least he knows where he's going, joked Ian, and looked up at the image of the departing spaceship on the screen. The Doctor caught the veiled criticism in Ian's quip and darted him a look which would have frozen a supernova.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Resolving to teach that impertinent young man a lesson one day soon, he rejoined the others. He doesn't say it. He doesn't threaten. But when the next book opens, you'll find that, oh, he's decided, because that's exactly the way it opens, with him saying, well, we've landed. Are you two still here? All right, bye. Don't let the door hit you in the ass.
Is that also because of Susan though? You think?
Uh,
Because she's like having all these different feelings and stuff like that, and maybe feels like they're.
it makes more sense for Robinson's ending. For the Doctor to say, you know, I don't like that, but I'm going to let it pass right now because these are friends of my granddaughter. Except in the next book, you're going to find him referring to finding his granddaughter and her friends over and over again.
Really?
And it's like,
Her friends.
holy.
They're your friends.
It's like, how much have they helped you though?
Yeah, well, this is very much the Doctor. Oh, did it froze?
It froze.
It froze.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
There we
Oh,
go.
there we are again.
My bad.
Yeah, how much have they helped him? And it's like,
They
yeah.
have though.
Yeah, well, no, I know, I agree. I completely agree with you that it should have, you know.
Like if they were just going around like by themselves, he wouldn't be able to get out and like do all this stuff.
No, I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
agree.
what was he doing in like 1960s England? He was like
Trying
in
to
a
get color
freaking
television.
yeah. He was in a freaking junkyard chilling, having his having his granddaughter go to school. Like,
Yeah,
he's not
that's
doing
true.
anything.
They have added to
life.
his life.
I mean, that was a normal life though.
Yeah,
but he's
that's the
he's
life.
a wanderer. So I mean,
Well,
or does he not want to
it
wander?
depends on later continuity, because if you check later continuity, he's on the run from his own people.
Yeah,
But we don't know that yet.
yeah.
We just know that he can't go back because of the unearthly child. He says that we can't
because he
return.
stole the what's it called, right?
He stole the TARDIS.
An
Well,
old
and
ass TARDIS too.
Well, and as
Yeah.
Ian and Barbara keep saying, it doesn't seem like he knows how to use the TARDIS.
Yes.
So even if he wanted to go back to Gallifrey, he may not necessarily be able to get back there.
That's true. That's true. Something you said, Dalton, when we were watching it, you said it seems like this is very much a story about colonization and, imperialism. And
Yeah,
such.
some of the feelings I was getting initially were the Sensorites felt very much like Native Americans, and the humans felt very much like.
They bring that up in the
colonists.
book too, though.
They do. Robinson brings it up
He
in the
brings it
epilogue.
up later.
Yeah.
At the very end.
At the
Yeah.
end, and I wasn't, I hadn't read it at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was surprised by that too because it's not really unpacked in the book.
And that's a pretty good thought for the 60s.
Yeah, it is. It's not all that.
And from the British.
Yeah, it's not all that exciting in 1987, though.
No.
I mean, that's when the British are finally looking back at their past and saying, "Oh, we shouldn't have done
Who
that."
are we to say anything?
Yeah, it's also a bit heavy-handed, but it's very fitting that Barbara gets the last word in the book. I love that. Oh, I don't love that.
Pause.
Yeah, I'll edit that out. But I do love that he loves her enough that he gives her the last word, and that's pretty nice. All right. As we always do, unless you have anything else to say about the book.
I'm good.
Nothing. Yeah.
Nothing really
Nothing
sticks
I've
out?
already said.
Okay.
I mean,
That's
it's not
very
that bad.
final. No. I get it. Believe me. You heard what I said.
You've got a lot of what's it called, emotion out of me on this one.
I was glad to see that. Hopefully next time it'll be the same way.
No, I mean
For a different
emotion in
way.
general.
He was fully expecting me to come into this and be his foil, and it's like, no, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not the greatest book we've read so far. As we always do, let's go to goodreads.com for online reviews of the book written by other readers, then follow up with our own ratings. By the way, if you're listening to this podcast and want to have your review featured when we get to an upcoming book, simply read the book, write a review on Goodreads, and then write a comment on our Facebook page or on our brand new subreddit.
Subreddit.
We have a subreddit.
Oh shit. We're
We
gonna get
have
trolled
s-
like a motherfucker.
r/love.
We're gonna
think
get
so.
trolled like a bitch.
It hasn't happened yet.
I've already been told I have
He-
a big nose on Reddit.
Have you?
Yeah.
In
Not
relation
on
to this, I was about
no.
to say this hasn't even gone
Who
out
cares
yet.
if I have a big nose?
You can see it there. I mean, you can see mine. But
No, one time
better smell
Barry
with,
put it.
like-
Barry, no, not really. I
And
have
of course
the
the
worst,
podcast
I have
listeners
the
are like-
worst breathing ever.
of course, the
Like-
podcast listeners are like, "The hell, subreddit."
Right.
If you put a comment on Facebook or on our subreddit, you may just get your comment read here. All right. The average rating, and I see we do have someone. Hello. And they're
And
gone.
goodbye.
The average rating for the story out of 5 stars is 3.33.
So this is hitting about where every other book we've read. So
Yeah,
far
Yeah.
which is kind of
Well, that's
Which-
kind it's
It's
kind
come
of,
to be expected.
I've noticed that about Goodreads. It's very much like IMDb. Everything averages about a 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless it's just really awful, like the worst movie in the world is a 2 out of 10. And the best movies rarely hit above 9.1. But a 7, yeah. Goodreads, same thing. This one's a little lower.
A little lower. But
Actually, it's a little higher. It's a little higher which makes sense because they're reading the book and they're not seeing the televised version.
that's true.
Here are some sample reviews. Braden Raymond gave this one 4 stars. And he says, now this is a class story. Both in the sense of sci-fi, but also in the sense of Doctor Who. The first Doctor here is a marvelous hero.
Marvelous?
That's the actual spelling. Marvelous hero.
That's why you gave it a 4.
Yeah, to which I have been informed is very unlike him up to this point. Kind of a turning point for him. That's true. This is a turning point for the Doctor. This is more doctorish than we've seen him.
Yeah.
Although many parts were predictable. That's what made it so classic and great for me. So see, Sheena, it's classic and great because
Yeah.
it's predictable.
Familiarity.
Yeah.
Breeds
Familiarity,
contempt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's why my open brain.
Your open brain, your hind brain in your hand. It's
Yeah.
like, don't
Because
worry.
I have nothing to go against, so I'm like a pure vessel
Oh, well, that's true.
in the Doctor Who sense.
In the Doctor sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's dig ourselves out of that hole now. The monosyllabically named Angela, gave it 1 star. The Sensorites is a rather old Doctor Who novel. 1987 is rather old for you, dear. And unlike all the other Doctor Who novels I've read so far this year, it's actually just a novelization of an actual episode. Oh, that's why she thinks it's old. Oh. The good news is, at 143 pages, it's a very light read. The bad news is, at 143 pages, it's a very light read. Too light a read, in fact. More than once I found the author offhandedly summarizing something such as, Barbara persuaded John to do this, or the Doctor argued the Sensorite elders into doing that in a sentence or two, rather than actually spelling that out in dialogue. That's what I accused Lucarati of doing. I didn't really find that with Robinson. Classic violation of show don't tell, this. The same thing happened fairly often in parts where we're just told that Susan trusted the Doctor implicitly or some such. So yeah, I've actually seen at least part of the episode this book was novelizing, and the actual episode is a much more interesting implementation of the story.
Really?
Yeah. The book, skippable. 1.5 stars. Oh, she didn't even give it 1 star. She gave it 1.5. Daniel Kukwa also gave it 4 stars. And said, now this is everything the novelization of An Unearthly Child isn't. An underrated first season story beautifully fleshed out by Nigel Robinson. The characters, even minor ones, are given their chance to shine. The settings from the claustrophobic spaceship to the gloriously light sense sphere are brought to vivid life.
I don't know.
The novel concludes with wishful thoughts from Barbara about the future of human nature, a fine conclusion to a very fine novelization.
I'd read The Unearthly Child again if I had to. In comparison.
It wasn't bad.
No, it wasn't a bad book at all, I didn't think.
How many stars out of 5 would you give this?
3.1.
Really?
I would go exactly with, yeah, or maybe like a 2.9 or something.
Okay, why?
Extremely predictable. Only person who shines is the Doctor. Maybe that's why.
And
Barbara. Maybe that's
She wasn't even there for half of it.
Yeah, and she was there for the
She's off on
first like
vacation.
15 pages and the last like 10.
Yeah.
It's just I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't interesting really.
Okay. That's fair enough.
That to keep it easy going because that's how the book was.
Okay.
And like I said, it was an easy read. I wouldn't have this be my first book to read, because if it was, I would have been like...
Yeah.
What?
I would be like, why am I reading Doctor Who books?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've worried about that. If ever one of you decides to take a vacation...
Don't start on Sensorites if you've never read a book.
Yeah, probably a bad idea.
Yeah.
How about you, Dalton?
Probably 2.5, like right down the middle. Not the worst thing I've ever read, not the best thing I've ever read. I'm usually a little easier on these things because they are more of like youth novels, they're pulp novels, they're a little dumbed down for people who aren't familiar, they're a little just...
Except for goddamn.
Well, yeah.
Goddamn!
But, yeah, it's just kind of middle of the road, just like doing my thing. Here's this story. It could have... I feel like it started off in a good direction. There was some suspense. There was some genuine, like, worry about what was going to happen to the Doctor and the companions, and it just turned out to be nothing at all. Nothing at all.
And also, you had watched the first 3 episodes before doing the book.
Yeah.
And you probably found yourself thinking, oh my god, I wonder what is going to happen next, and the book let that down a bit.
Yeah, it let it down a bit. And I know whenever you and I watched those first 3 episodes, you were like, I'm sure you can figure out what happened by now. And I was like, well, I'm not quite sure.
Oh.
I thought that it was like heavy metal poisoning. I thought they kept talking about all these metals they had, molybdenum, and I was like, maybe it's lead poisoning. And I wasn't sure if at that point they had said their knowledge of chemistry wasn't great.
Right.
But I did think like
maybe it's all the metal and all the stuff,
Yeah.
resources they have, and these aqueducts, they don't go down enough, and they're
have all
not
the-
servicing them.
So it's like-
It's like Flint, Michigan, but like...
Well, yeah. I didn't have all the
Hometown represent!
I didn't have all the
from
dots connected that these were the humans that were
Yeah,
poisoning.
with
But
deadly
I
nature.
did think that it was something that was an easy fix.
Yeah.
I totally thought that whether it was heavy metal poisoning or something, that a doctor would be like, "Oh, it's this," and fix it.
Yeah.
And he was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's this,"
But it was
and fixed
it's just
But
something that was so dumb.
It was it was. Oh, there are these humans that we've talked about that you thought were dead, right? But no, they've been hiding underground
And then
for
they like
13
exploded their own ship though too. Like
Yeah.
how dumb was that?
Right.
Yeah.
They've been underground for 13 months.
13 months?
No, that was longer than that. Those
Was
were
it
the
longer?
first people
They've been
that
in the
came.
ship for 13
Yeah.
months, I thought.
They were on
Those
the
are
ship
the
for
people
13
from
months.
before.
The people from before have been there for years.
Yeah, like
Oh.
years.
Yeah.
See, I was getting confused with the timeline.
Yeah, no, the people from before were there for like a while. I don't know how long, but
At
the people on
least-
the ship were like 13 months or 8 months or something.
See,
and
I was thinking that the people underground were the same people that were there from the people on the ship, and that's why I was like,
No, there are two different
From the
like,
original
yeah, from the original ship that
Okay.
they thought they killed because they all put them on the ship. But what happened was they had just went down the docks and made the two other people say they're going
Yes.
back to America,
Yeah.
like to America or the United
To
States,
America.
wherever
Well, they defected.
to the
They're
Earth.
coming
Yeah,
to America.
no, they were supposed to go back to the Earth, but then they blew up the ship.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard
So
to
was
keep
the
up with.
next group of people like a search party?
They could have been, but we never get a sense
Yeah.
of why they're there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really
and that's
matter.
probably why I was confused.
Yeah, and that's
because
I'm
it
sure
was
why
like-
you were. Yeah.
Yeah, Maitland's ship is a different ship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. Yeah.
Either way,
That's it. 2.2.
right. Taking
That
off some of
drops
those
it
points.
down.
Yeah, but you know, middle of the road.
Yeah.
Not the worst thing I've ever read. It was easy to get through. I like some of the descriptions. Like
Yeah.
you said, the beginning was effective with.
Yeah, it was effective to get you into the story for sure.
Yeah. And for me, on the one hand, Robinson adds in some lovely character-driven moments for the regulars. I love what he does with Barbara.
Yeah.
There are some good moments for Ian even, and Susan even gets some stuff going. Gives us some nice foreshadowing of things to come because you get the sense that Susan's not going to be around for too much longer, and that
She's
didn't
going
really-
awry.
She's going awry, and at that point, I don't think the actress had decided to leave the series yet. But yeah, and emphasizes the few positive points that the story has by making the first few chapters genuinely creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he gives Babs the last word, which I always love. On the other hand, he doesn't add much to the actual story of the Sensorites themselves, probably because their society defies all sense of logic.
Sure does.
It's just a narrative contrivance to get the story along. That's likely due to the material he has to work with, so thank you, Ghost of Peter R. Newman. There could have been more to do with that. And the fact that he's got to compress 6 episodes into 150 pages, rather than expanding 2 to fit the same length.
Yeah.
I really would have loved to see more additions. I would have loved him to talk more about what it must be like to be in a culture where you can't close your eyes and you see all the time.
Yeah.
What does that do to a culture?
I mean, you would
Psychologically.
think though that with that they would like be visually different because they're always looking at each other.
Yeah, but they're not. In fact, they've evolved to be all the same, and they don't even have individual
But that
names.
makes like no sense.
So sorry about the accidental
Right.
song.
You would
You know what I
think-
mean? Like
you would
if
think
all
that
of
if
it,
you-
everything was visual,
Yes.
then you would want to look to. I mean, I'm just talking from
You would need
experience.
something
You know what I'm
to
saying?
differentiate.
Yeah.
And their city is so dull.
Yeah.
I mean, on screen, but it's also described as, shining spires. But they would have, you would think they'd have this artistic culture that would be like crazy because they'd want to
Yeah,
see.
because they're
all
always
sorts of
seeing. They
things.
can't shut their eyes.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Someone sent me a photo.
4 viewers.
What is that?
viewers.
I have no idea.
What kind of photo is that?
Well, I'm sure it's not one of our viewers, so don't even think about it.
Let's open it
And
up.
I'm still telling you what I thought about the book. Oh, bite me! I'm still talking about what I thought about the book. This was the first book I had to put down and go away from for a week, and I dreaded going back to it every single moment. I hated it. I didn't hate it because of Nigel Robinson. I didn't hate the book necessarily. I just despise the story.
Yeah, the story's horrible.
And it's going to be the same way when we get to Space Museum. And at least there, I can say, yeah, the writer wrote it. The original writer novelized it, so blame him. Don't blame this poor dead guy who fell down the stairs and hit his head on a radiator. Because I know, because he didn't do it before he wrote the story. I gave this one 2.5 out of 5. Yeah. So yeah, I thought you were looking over my shoulder. So yeah. Well, thank you guys again for doing this and for being here with our experiment. Danny. Oh, someone gave us a heart.
It was Danny.
It was Danny. Thank you, Danny. We miss you. You should come back and do one of these someday. Thanks, guys. And thank you, fellow time travelers, for giving us your valuable time. Next time we'll be reading Doctor Who, The Reign of Terror, written by the late but lovely Ian Marter. It is a historical, but you will like it.
Yes.
Because I liked it, and I hate historicals. Now you don't have to listen, because you know what we thought. In the meantime, if you liked what you've heard here, like us on Facebook. If you add a comment on that page, if you think there's something we missed here, or just something you want to tell us in your words, you'll be entered in our next Target book giveaway.
Do it!
Yes,
Please
this time, because you're not jerks. We've established you're not jerks. This time, some lucky fan randomly picked by me will get a gently used copy of Doctor Who and the 10th Planet, because I'm still trying to give that crap away.
Not this one.
Not that one.
10th Planet.
That's mine.
Not
you
this
don't get
one. It looks kind of like
You
keep
will
that?
not get that. That's mine. Oh.
It's in the same kind of thing.
You're ruining this for me. Check out our Facebook page at Doctor Who Target Book Club Podcast, all one word with no spaces for more details. You can also visit our brand new subreddit at www.reddit.com/r as in Randy /DW Target BC. And if you leave a comment there, you're also eligible for the book giveaway. Also, feel free to give us a thumbs up on YouTube, because this video is going up on YouTube. God help us all. Follow us on Twitter. We're at DW Target BC, or subscribe to us via the podcast provider of your choice. We are on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you really like us, or if you really, really don't like us, post your comments, suggestions, questions, or any on all of the above platforms. I know, puppy, we're almost done.
Yeah.
Or email us at dwtargetbc@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and enjoy your travels. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
No,
guys.
don't be sad,
Oh, it's
Daddy.
okay. We'll be back.
I'll be home soon.
Some point.
Yeah, he just wants me to bring him McDonald's.